Alright, first thing I want to do is take a look at our formulas. So up first, we have circles. Circles, your x is going to be squared, your y is going to be squared, your h and k are your center, your radius is r. Pretty much straightforward, nothing special about that. Parabolas with a horizontal axis, so parabola with the horizontal axis is either going to open to the left or to the right. Either way it opens, your foci is going to be like in the center here. So it's as if there were a bowl and your foci was just setting in the bowl. If your parabola opens to the left, your P, which P is the distance from the center to the foci, which it does not say here, so I'm going to add it on the chart here. P is the distance from the center to the foci. So if it opens to the left, your P is negative. If you have a parabola with a vertical axis, so it's either going to open up or down. So again, your foci is just going to be in the middle of that bowl, as if it were a bowl, holding the little foci. If it opens down, your P is negative. And same thing, your P is the distance from the center to the foci, so this applies to both of these. Your foci and the directrix are equidistant from the center. Same distance from the center. Or I guess I've been saying center, but I mean vertex. So this should be vertex. But I think you guys know what I meant. Alright, next let's take a look at ellipses. So with a horizontal major axis, your ellipse is going to be like an oval this way. With a vertical major axis, your ellipse is going to be this way. If your A is under the X, it's horizontal. If your A is under the Y, it's vertical. And the A is always bigger than the B. So depending on your A or B, if it's bigger or smaller, the bigger number, if it's under the Y, you're going to have a vertical ellipse. So A is always bigger. Same thing here, your center is H comma K. Length of the major axis is 2A. So from the center to the vertex on one side, let's change that color, that is A. So this length is A. So 2A would be the whole length. And then we use this formula here to find our A, B, or C. So depending on what the question asks, sometimes it could give you A and B, you have to find C. You use C to find the foci, because C is the distance from the center to the foci. It's the same formula here, so it doesn't matter if it is horizontal or vertical, use that same. C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. Hyperbolas are a little bit different. So they look super similar to ellipses, but the major difference is that there's a minus in the middle. So hyperbolas have a big minus sign in the middle. And in hyperbolas, your a squared is always going to come first. So a squared is always the first one listed. Doesn't matter if it's under the x or under the y, your a squared is always the first one. So the distance between the vertices is 2a. So distance from the center to the vertex is a. And then distance from the center to the foci is c. And then here we have a little bit different formula for our a, b, and c. That is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So when it's a hyperbola, when you see that big minus sign in the middle, to find your c, you use a squared plus b squared. So our asymptotes are y is equal to k plus or minus. When it's horizontal, it is b over a times x minus h. When it's vertical, it's a over b. So it's the same thing. Y is equal to k plus or minus a over b times x minus h. So this is your asymptote. All right, let's do some examples. Oops. So given, identify the center and the radius. What type of conic is this? Is it a circle, parabola, ellipse, hyperbola? What is this?
Circle.
Circle. Looks like our circle equation, so it's a circle. What's our center?
9, -4.
9, -4, awesome. And then what's our radius?
80.
So 80 is our radius squared. So we have to take the square root of both sides. And we can simplify the square root of 80. What are two factors of 80? 4 and 20.
Yeah.
And 20 breaks down into 4 and 5. So I have a pair of 4s that I could take out. So that would be 4 square root 5. And that's it. So the next one. Given the following information, write the equation of the circle in standard form. Show all work. So it says the endpoints of the diameter of the circle are -8, 3 and 10, -7. We had one like this on something, the last test, I think. So if our endpoints on the circle are here, I don't know why I drew the circle first and not the graph. It's been a long day. So we go to the left 8 and up 3. And then we would go to the right 7, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and down 7. If these are two endpoints on our circle, our center of a circle is going to be right in the middle. So we need to find the midpoint of these 2 points. Anybody remember how we find the midpoint?
Did you just count?
So
Instead of doing the whole formula?
you would be able to count if it was like on the same, like if it gave us this and this as the two endpoints, we could count and see what the center is. But when it's not on like a straight line, like horizontally or vertically, we have to use the midpoint formula because we can't clearly see where the midpoint is between these two. So our midpoint formula is we just add the x's, divide by 2, and add the y's and divide by 2. So our x's are -8 plus 10, and 3 plus -7, so 3 minus 7. So that would be 2 over 2, and -4 over 2, which would be 1, comma, -2. That's our center. So once we have our center, what else do we need for our formula for a circle? The radius. How do you think we can find the radius?
The distance formula? Never mind.
We could, which essentially is what we are going to do, but we can plug it into our formula for a circle. So we have x minus h, so x minus 1 squared, plus y minus k, so y plus 2 squared, and that's equal to r squared. Do I have a value that I could plug in for x and y?
Yes.
What?
Any of those two endpoints, right?
Any of the two endpoints. So I'll just pick the first one, and I can plug that in. So if you notice this equation here, the formula for a circle is pretty much the distance formula. So that's what we're doing. We're finding the distance from the center to one of the endpoints, which is the radius. So -8 is my x, 3 is my y, and I'm going to solve for r. So this would be -9 squared, which is 81, plus 5 squared, which is 25. So this would be 106 is equal to r squared. So r is equal to the square root of 106. I don't think I can simplify 106. Let's see. No. So we're just going to leave it as the square root of 106. Then I just plug it into my formula with my x and y. So x minus 8, so x minus 1 squared, plus y plus 2 squared is equal to the square root of 106. It is. You are right. So it should just be 106. Radius is squared, so it should just be 106 here. Thank you. All right, next one. Find the x and y intercepts for the circle shown below. How do I find my x-intercept?
Make y 0.
Make y 0, so it's the opposite. So for my x-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So I have x plus 9 squared plus 0 minus 5 squared is equal to 30. X plus 9 squared, I'm going to FOIL. So this is x squared plus 18x plus 81. Sorry, my pencil is failing me right now, like always. Plus 25, because -5 squared is 25, and then that's equal to 30. I'm going to combine all my like terms on one side. I'm going to move everything to one side and combine my like terms. Because I see I have an x squared and an x, so I know I'm going to have to factor. Or use my quadratic formula if it doesn't factor. So 81 plus 25 minus 30 would be 76. Yes. And that's equal to 0. Do I have two factors of 76 that add to 18? So let's use the quadratic formula. We have negative b, which is negative 18, my pencil works so well until this hospital. All day. I was like, it's a miracle. But didn't last. Negative 18 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 18 squared, minus 4 times a times c. So 4 times 1 times 76. 18 squared is 324 minus 4 times 76, which is 304. So this is a positive number under here, so we're going to have an x-intercept. It's just not going to be a pretty number. So negative 18 plus or minus the square root. 324 minus 304 is 20 over 2a on the bottom, so 2 times 1, which is just 2. Can I simplify the square root of 20? Four and 5 are my factors of 20. So 4 comes out as a 2. 2 square root 5 over 2. And then I can simplify a little bit more. 2 goes into 18 and 2, so this would be negative 9 plus or minus square root 5. So another way, back at the top, we have x plus 9 squared plus 25 is equal to 30. I'm going to move that 25 to the right, so subtract 25 from both sides. So x plus 9 squared is equal to 5. Then I can take the square root of both sides. So x plus 9 is equal to the square root of 5. Whenever I take the square root of both sides, I have to make sure I include that plus or minus. And then I can subtract 9 on both sides. So x is equal to negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 5. Which is, in my opinion, a lot easier. So again, that's our x-intercept. How do we find the y-intercept?
You make x 0.
We make x 0. So we have 0 plus 9 squared plus, this was y minus 5 squared, is equal to 30. So 0 plus 9 squared is 81. I'm going to subtract 81 on both sides. So I have y minus 5 squared is equal to 30 minus 81 is 49? No. negative 51. What should I do next? Square root it. Can I take the square root of negative 51? Nope, because we don't want imaginary numbers here. So we have no y-intercepts. Alright, next page. Oh, here's one of our favorites. We have to complete the square. Write the equation of the circle in standard form. Identify the center and radius.
Miss Carver,
Yes.
for the final, is he going to ask for everything, or is he going to ask for specific things?
The final is going to be super similar to the quiz that you guys took. Same kind of type of questions where it doesn't ask you for everything, but it would ask you for like the center and radius in one question. Like it's not going to ask you for the vertex, asymptotes, like everything in one, but it'll ask you for like one thing. It's the same type of questions as the quiz. Alright, so completing the square. Let's put our x's together. X squared plus 12x. And then put my y's together. So y squared plus 4y. And then that's going to be equal to, I'm going to move my 9 to the other side, so negative 9. So with my x's, what's going to go in here to help me complete the square?
You're going to do 12 divided by 2.
12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 6 squared is what I'm adding in here. What do I have to add on the right side to keep my equation balanced? 36. So what goes into my parentheses squared here? X plus 6. Perfect. The x and the 6. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my y's. So what's going to go in the space here to help me complete the square? Four over 2 squared. So 4 over 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so I'm adding 4 on the left side. I have to add 4 on the right side too. So what's going to go in my parentheses here? Y plus 2. And then that's going to be equal to negative 9 plus 36 plus 4. What's that? 31. So what is this is my equation in standard form. Done. What's my center? Negative 6, negative 2. And what's my radius? Square root 31. Alright, we'll do one more together. A parabola one. So write the equation of the parabola in standard form, find the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola. So right off the bat, we see we have y squared, so we know this is going to be a horizontal parabola. And I want to complete the square so I can get my parabola equation to look like the first slide. So I have to complete the square with my y's. So I have y squared plus 6y I'm going to move everything else to the other side. So equal to, when I move it to the other side, you change the signs. So I'm adding 4x to the other side and adding 7. So 4x plus 7. What's going to go in the space here to help me complete the square? 6/2 squared. So 6/2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm adding 9 in here. I got to add 9 on the right side also. Now I'm going to have my parentheses squared. What's going to go in my parentheses? Y plus 3.
Y plus 3.
So y plus 3 squared is equal to 4x. 7 plus 9 is 16. So plus 16. So I got my left side of my equation looking good. How can I get my right side to look like this? Divide the 4 out. So I'm going to take out that 4. So I have x plus 4. So y plus 3 squared is equal to 4 times x plus 4. Is it in standard form now? Yes. So that's my standard form. What's my vertex? H comma k. -4, -3. Perfect. So I'm going to go to the left 4 and down 3. How can I find my focus? This number is 4p. It's this number. So 4p is equal to 4. So what's p equal to? 1. So my distance from my vertex to my focus is 1. Do you think I'm going to the right or to the left? If my p is positive, which way is my parabola going to open? We said it's going to be sideways, but is it going to open to the left or to the right? The right. Because p is positive, it opens to the right, and my p is 1 space away from my vertex. So my vertex is at -4, my foci is at -3. So I'm going 1 in the positive direction because p is positive. So what's the coordinate point for my focus? -3, -3. And then what would my directrix be? Directrix is 1 space away from the vertex. So if my focus was 1 space from the right, 1 space to the right, my directrix is going to be 1 space to the left. So it's going to be here. But directrix is a line, so how do I write an equation of a line? A vertical line. X is equal to, because it intersects the x-axis. So it's going to be x is equal to, and at what point does it intersect the x-axis? So the vertex was at -4, and we went 1 more space. So -5. So x is equal to -5 is our directrix. Divide the 4. So first we need to complete the square. Let's put our x's together and our y's together. My y comes first, so I'm just going to put that first, but it doesn't matter which one's first. So 9y squared plus 18y. We'll leave a space to complete the square. Then I have plus x squared minus 10x, and I'm going to move that 2 to the other side, so it's positive 2 over there. What number is going to go in here to help me complete the square? We got to take out the 9 first. Good call. So take out the 9. I have y squared plus 2y. Now I can complete the square. What number is going to go in there to help me complete the square? 2 over 2 squared. So 2 over 2 is 1. So I have 1 squared in here, which is just 1. But I'm 1 times 9 on the left side, so I'm adding 9 on the left side of the equation. I have to add 9 on the right side as well. And then I can do my parentheses squared. What's going to go in my parentheses? Y plus 1. And then I cannot forget that 9 out front. For my x's, what's going to help me complete the square here? Negative 10 divided by 2 squared. So we have negative 5 squared. Negative 5 squared is 25, so I'm adding 25 on the left side. I got to add 25 on the right side too. What's going to go in my parentheses here? X minus 5. And then this is going to be equal to 2 plus 9 plus 25, which is 36. And then for an ellipse, it needs to be equal to 1. So how can I get this to be equal to 1? Divide by 36. So 9 goes into 36 4 times. This would be y plus 1 squared over 4 plus x minus 5 squared over 36, and that's equal to 1. So find the equation in standard form of the ellipse below. It is the same question. You're right. It's the same thing as the one above. Yeah, if you would have put an X through it, that's totally fine. Alright, the next one, so the last one on page 4. Find the standard form of the equation of the ellipse given the following information. So you have the foci and the minor axis length of 10. So let's put on our graph to get an idea of what this looks like. We have 0, 1, so we stay at 0, go up 1. And then we have 6, 1, so we go right 6, and up 1. So those are our foci, and our minor axis length of 10. So foci is on the major axis. That means this is the major axis. We can find the center with our foci that's given, so just the dead center of the foci would be, foci are 6 spaces apart, so the middle would be 3. So right there. So our center would be what point? 3, 1. And then our minor axis length of 10, so that means we go up 5 and down 5. If our minor axis length is 10, what does this give us? The minor axis, right, it's B. Well, it helps us find B. B is not going to be 10. What is B? What's the distance from the center to the minor axis? 5. Yeah. So the minor axis length is, or B is equal to the minor divided by 2. And then A is equal to major divided by 2. What is C? Do we know that? C is the distance from the center to the foci. So what's the distance from the center to our foci? 3. So C is 3. And then how can we find A? C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. So C we said was 3, so C squared is 9. A squared minus B squared would be 25. Add 25 to both sides. So 34 is equal to A squared. Take the square root. A is equal to square root 34. In our equation of our ellipse, our standard form, like our just basic equation, is x minus h squared over a squared. Ellipse is plus or minus in the middle. Plus. So we have plus in the middle, and then it's equal to 1. Once we have our center, our A and our B, we can go ahead and start plugging it in, because that's really all we need. H, K, A, and B. So x minus, what's our h? Three squared over, what's our a squared? 34. Plus y minus, what's our k? 1 squared over, what's our b squared? 25, and then that's equal to 1. All right, page 5, number 1. So given the vertex and the focus, write the equation of the parabola in standard form. So I'm going to graph it just so we can get a nice visual of what's going on. Our vertex is negative 3, 6. And our focus is 5, 6. So which way does our parabola open? Up, down, left, right. If this is our vertex, and this is our focus. It opens to the right, because your parabola is like a little bowl that holds the focus in the middle of it. So for our standard form of a parabola, our basic equation is, since it opens to the side, that means the y is squared, so y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h. So we need h and k and p. What's our h and k? The vertex, so we have our h and k. Do we know what p is? 8. P is our distance from the vertex to the focus, so that's 8. So we can just plug that in. Y minus k, which is 6, squared is equal to 4p, so that would be 32, times x minus h, so x plus 3. Alright, next. Given the vertex and the directrix, write an equation of the parabola in the standard form. So same thing as the last one, but instead of the focus being given, the directrix is given. So our vertex is negative 1, 3. And our directrix is y is equal to negative 1. So y means we're going on the y-axis down to negative 1. So it's our directrix. Which direction does this parabola open? Opens up. It opens away from the directrix. So our standard form of our parabola is x minus h squared. Now the x is squared because it opens up or down, is equal to 4p times y minus k. do we have our H and K? The vertex, so H and K. And do we know what P is? P is 4, perfect. Because P is the distance from the vertex to the focus, but the vertex to the focus is the same distance as the vertex to the directrix. So from here at 3 to -1, that would be 4. So the distance from the vertex to the directrix is 4, so P is equal to 4. So let's plug everything in. X minus H, so X plus 1 squared is equal to 4 times P, so that would be 16, times Y minus K minus 3. Any questions on that one? All right, given the standard form of the ellipse below, identify center A, B, C, vertices, and foci. So what's our center? 9, -3. What's our A? 5. So this would be A squared. So what's our A? 5. So that's just one difference between ellipse and hyperbolas. Hyperbolas, the A always comes first. Ellipse, the A is always the bigger one. So since the bigger denominator is under the Y, that means it's going to be a vertical ellipse. So that's kind of what the A tells us here. What's our B? 3. How do we find C? Is it A squared plus B squared here? It's A squared minus B squared. So C squared is equal to A squared, which is 25, minus B squared, which is 9. So C squared is equal to 16. C is equal to 4. So I like to draw it just so we get a visual of what's going on. Our center is at 9, -3. And to find the vertices, we go from our center. Is this a horizontal ellipse or a vertical ellipse? What do you think? Is it going to be an oval like this or an oval like this? Why do you think it's horizontal? But if it's plus, it doesn't really matter which one's first. So the A is under the Y. That's what makes it vertical. So it's going to be a vertical ellipse. And that means our vertices are going to go up and down. So what's the distance from the center to the vertices that we're going up and down? Well, that we're going up. Let's just do up first. How much do we go up? To the vertex. C is always the distance to the foci. It's A. Distance to vertices. So we're going to go up 5, and we go down 5. So our 2 points for our vertices are what? 9, -8, and 9, 2. Perfect. Now when it asks for vertices, you can give all 4 vertices, but you only need to give the 2 major ones, so just these 2 are fine. If it's multiple choice, it should only give you like 2 vertices here, which are the major ones. So you don't have to find the other ones. But to find the other ones, you use the distance b. So these are to the minor vertices. So we would go to the right 3 and to the left 3. But we don't need that. All right, what's our foci? What are our coordinate points of our foci?
9 and 7.
So we're going up 4 and down 4. So you said 9, -7, and 9, 1. Awesome. Find the standard form of the equation of the hyperbola with the given characteristics. So we have our vertices and our foci. We go to the right 2, down 2, to the right 2, up 8. This is a hyperbola. And our foci are at 2, -3, and 2, 9. So it's going to go this way and this way. What would our center be?
2, 3.
So we have 10 spaces in between these, so 5 would be in the middle. So yes. I think it would be 2, 2, right? No, because this is at 2, so 2, 3. You are right. 2, 3. And then what else can we find? Our A, our B, and our C. Do we know what the A is?
Yes.
What's A?
5.
So A is the distance from the center to our vertex, so that is 5. Perfect. Do we know what C is?
6.
6. That's the distance from our center to our foci. And then how can we find B? A squared plus B squared now. Because it's a hyperbola, it's A squared plus B squared. So C squared would be 36 is equal to 25 plus B squared, subtract 25. So 11 is equal to B squared. So B is equal to square root 11. Our formula for a hyperbola that opens up and down, what comes first, the x's or the y's? The x's, because it opens up and down. So we have x minus h squared over a squared. Is it plus or minus in the middle? Minus y minus k squared over b squared, and it's equal to what? 1. So we have our h and k, and we have our a and b. So we can just plug everything in. X minus 2 squared over 25 minus y minus 3 squared over, what's b squared? 11, and that's equal to 1. Find the vertices and asymptotes of the hyperbola. What should we do first? Awesome. Divide everything by 100. Can we simplify 4 over 100? What does it simplify to? 25. What about 25 over 100? 4. And then it's equal to 1. So this is our standard form. What's our center? 0, 0. What's our A? 5. What's our B? 2. Perfect. And how do we find our C? a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This, we don't really need it because it doesn't ask us for our foci. We could find it, let's find it anyway. So c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. C squared is equal to 25 plus 4. So c squared is 29. C would be the square root of 29. So again, it doesn't ask us for our foci, so we don't really need to find it, but in case it does, now we know. So let's find our vertices. Our center is at 0, 0. Are we going up and down to find our vertices, or left or right? So it's going to be up and down. I think that means for the one before we did it wrong. Because it goes up and down, our y should come first. So I'll go back and fix that one after we finish this. So we're going to go up and down how many? How much? 5. Because a is 5, we go up 5 and down 5. So what are vertices? What's one vertice? 0, 5. And what's the other one? 0, negative 5. Now to find our asymptotes, since we are on a vertical transverse axis, that means we're going to have a over b. So x minus h is equal to y minus y plus k. And now we can plug in everything we have. So y is equal to 0 plus or minus a is 5 over b, which is 2, times x minus 0. So this would be y is equal to plus or minus 5 over 2x. Okay, it didn't delete much, so we're fine. Alright, so we said it was y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared is equal to 1. What's our k? 3. Thank you. What's our a? A is 5. So a squared is 25. Minus x minus h, so minus 2 squared over b is square root 11, so b squared would be 11, and that's equal to 1. So this is not right. Because it's vertical, it should be the y first. So vertical meaning that all of our important things fall on a vertical axis. So that just means y should go first. Okay, what should we do first here? Does this look like our standard form of a hyperbola? How do we put it in a standard form of a hyperbola? What do we need to do? Awesome. In other words, we complete the square. But you are very right. So I'm just grouping my x's together, grouping my y's together, and I'm going to add the 100 to the other side. What do I need to do first over here with the x's before I complete the square? Take out the 11. So I have x squared minus, what comes next? 10x. And then what's going to go in here to help me complete the square? Negative 10 over 2 squared. So negative 10 over 2 is negative 5 squared. So what's going to go in my parentheses down here? X minus 5. And I cannot forget about that 11 out front. And then technically I'm adding 25 in here. But it's actually 25 times 11. What's 25 times 11? 275. So I need to add 275 on the other side also. Now let's do the same thing with the y's. What should I do first before I can complete the square? Take a negative 25 out. So I have negative 25 times y squared plus 4y. What's going to go in here to help me complete the square? 4 over 2 squared. And 4 over 2 would be 2. So I have 2 squared here. What's going to go in my parentheses down here? Y plus 2 squared. And then technically I am adding 4 in here, but it's actually 4 times negative 25, which is what? Negative 100, so I'm subtracting 100 on the left side, so I need to subtract 100 on the right side also. So now I have 100 plus 275 minus 100 would just be 275. What should I do next? Divide everything by 275. Can I simplify 11 over 275? Yes. What am I left with on the bottom? 25. What about 25 and 275? Does that simplify? Yes. What am I left with on the bottom? 11. And then what's it equal to? 1. I don't even know if this question is asking for standard form, but I just got so excited. Oh, now we can find the center easily. What's our center? 5, negative 2. And now we can find our vertices. I'm going to go to the right 5, down 2. That's my center. Is our hyperbola, does it have, we're going vertically or horizontally for our vertices? Horizontally, why? The x is first, so that means we go horizontally. So I'm going to go to the right how many? Go to the right 5, and then I go to the left 5. So what are my vertices? And? 0, negative 2. Perfect. And that's it, center and vertices.